Hi, I'm Debbie. I am here representing Birds Out Loud. We are going to go over a couple of medical necessities to have on hand, so when and or if your bird is to ever wind up needing some kind of medical attention, which is usually like on Sunday night at 9 o'clock when you can't reach anybody, you will at least know how to get your bird over to the next day comfortably until you're able to get and to see into a vet. So the first thing I want to do is just give a big shout out to Chirp Merch, who's come up with a great idea for a first aid kit to have on hand. Some of these products you may never need to use for your bird, hopefully, but if you ever had to use them, you will have them in one spot. Because I don't know about you guys, but when things are getting a little crazy and my bird is bleeding or is hurt or something's happened, everything goes out of my head. So at least I know that if I have products that I may need in case of an emergency, all tucked away in a nice little package by my cage or in a drawer, all I have to do is remember where they're at. Then I have everything in there that I'm going to potentially need to just facilitate a situation so that I can get my bird to a vet the next day. So what is in this kit are some products that you just might have anyways, but we're gonna have them all in one spot. So things to have on hand when having a pet bird that may potentially get into some problems are hemostats. One of the most common problems that we have when we have birds are blood feathers. Now, blood feathers is just a normal thing that happens all the time. It's not something to be worried or scary or something's wrong with your bird because it has a blood feather. A blood feather is just a brand new feather. We deem that as a blood feather because most of that shaft of the feather that's growing is filled with blood. And the feathers are immature and they are bendable and they break and they split. And when that happens, you have basically a crime scene happening, which looks a whole lot worse than what it really is. But potentially what you need to do is to get that feather out. Now, sometimes you don't have to get the feather out and you can kind of just pack it off with some Quick Stop, which we also have in here. You can pack it off with some flour. You just want to let it clot onto something so that the body will do what it naturally does, stops that blood from leaking out, and then you can deal with it later on. But if you have to get that feather out, and I have a little, pretend like this is my feather. So if the feather here is into the bird, and potentially this feather is split or cut or broken, and it's bleeding, what you want to have is a pair of hemostats. You want to clamp that around the feather itself, and you're going to want to pull that feather out. Now, if I actually had another hand, you would see me pinch here where the feather is in, because you want to hold that skin, and then you just want to yank that feather out. Clean. Hopefully the whole thing has come out. And then if you pinch this right here, that hole where the feather had come out of for about 10 seconds, then everything should be pretty well sealed up and you won't have any more bleeding from that blood feather. So another product that we have inside of the emergency kit is Quick Stop. Quick Stop is readily used on toenails that may have been caught in something and now it's bleeding, or you may have tried clipping it or filing it and you got a little close. The beak, a lot of times the birds will jump down on the ground, and if the beak is a little too long, the tip will bust off and you'll have blood all over the place. Quick Stop is a good way to, basically you're burning those capillaries shut so that no more bleeding is happening. So the way that I do it is if I have a toenail, we'll call this a bleeding toenail. If I have a toenail that's bleeding, what I will do is I will take a pad, like a sterilized pad like this that we have also included in there. I will take it and just clean this area off. So this toenail is bleeding or this beak is bleeding. I will just take that and I'll actually just hold it there like that for a second. I will get into the Quick Stop. So once I clean this off, because it's going to start clotting and it's just going to be a mess, and you just want to get it nice and clean. I want to get that nice and clean, and then I'm going to take a little quick stop, and I'm going to hold that on there for about 5 seconds. I'm going to pat it a couple of times. If I see that it's still bleeding, I'm going to take a little bit more. I'm going to hold it on there. Like I said, this could be done with the toenail or the beak. Helps if you have another person holding the bird while you're doing this. I pat it a couple of times. Looks like it stopped bleeding. I'm going to leave him alone. Now, just for information, if this is a toenail or a beak and they dip this into water, all of this is going to melt off. So maybe for about 15-20 minutes, let's try to keep them away from the water. Give this a chance to clot up and heal and seal itself. Then go ahead and put the water in there. A couple of things that Church Merch has included into their emergency kit are the sugar-free electrolyte rehydrating kits. Put one of these, standard bottle of water, 16 ounce, shake it up. A good way of replenishing some electrolytes. Here in Arizona, we have a problem with heat most of the year. People forget that their bird can be pretty sensitive to the heat and they may get overheated. So we want to replace some of those electrolytes that they may have been lost during that time. And then also we just had a situation where a bird had got lost, and we get called out on calls like that quite frequently. And so the bird was gone for 3 days, and although it wasn't that warm, we did put this in his water. We put this in the water for a couple of days. You're gonna get 2 of these in there. It's gonna give you a couple of days because 1 packet is for 16 ounces of water. You don't have to use that. You can use half a packet for 8 ounces. Maybe stretch it out over 4 days. It's not gonna hurt him. It's gonna be great for him. But we knew that bird hadn't drank anything or really ate anything for 3.5 days. So getting stuff like that into them pretty quickly is important in the recovery of them being missing for a couple days. A couple other products that are included in the Church Merch first aid kit are things like iodine prep pads. Basically it's a surgical scrub. So if there is a cut or an abrasion or a scratch, it's kind of always good to kind of wipe that down and keep it clean so you get to see a vet if you need to. They have also included some alcohol pads. They have included some triple antibiotic gel packs. So if you want to if the abrasion or the cut or the scratch or the scrape isn't so bad that you would need to wrap it, you can just get some antibiotic, put a good smear of antibiotic ointment on top of that will prevent some bacteria getting in there, and we'll also have some antibiotics just in case any have gotten in there. If you do feel that you need to wrap it, they have some sterile prep pads in here along with some vet wrap that you can wrap the toe or the foot. Sometimes it's not always a good area to be able to get to, but your products are here in case that you can do it. Like I had said before, it's more about having these things available to you when and or if a problem arises, because it more than likely will. And when you're seeing your baby hurt, you have a tendency, or most people have a tendency to get a little nervous about it. So having a product like the Church Merch first aid kit at hand with all the products in here basically you're going to need makes things a lot easier, and you can stay a little more calm and knowing that you have this stuff available to you to rectify any kind of situation, or at least get it to the point where you can get to your vet like the next day or whatever. There's a couple other things that are included: scissors, We see a lot of birds getting hung up in some rope toys or rope perches, either through like long nails or something. Again, you get nervous, you're scrambling because you know that your animal is in distress. You want to get them out as quick as possible, so having a pair of scissors right on hand. We have some cotton swabs also available, some gloves if you ever need to be working on your bird with blood feathers, cuts, abrasions. So we also have gloves to protect yourself and to protect the animal that you're working on. And I think that is it. They also have a handy dandy little box you keep it in. You keep all this stuff together, so it's there for you. You don't have to worry about it. If you like this video, even if you didn't, please push the subscribe button below.